Can you guys hear me okay? Hey, Duncan, our official moderator. Welcome. Um, we're happy to have you and thank you so much for joining. It's Flipping Gal today. Marina cannot join. She is not feeling well, unfortunately. I think she's a little burnt out from working and reselling, and you know the spiel. We both have full-time jobs, so she definitely needs some rest, 100%. I know she's been up late grading on the paper. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So Duncan is our official moderator, and I don't know, do you have the rights now to moderate? I just want to make sure. We've never done this before. So let us know in the chat. So today is, what is the full time? Poor Marina, give her some soup. Aw, that's really good advice. Actually, I should do that. Good advice. Cynthia said, yes, I know that feeling. Tell Marina, so sorry. Yeah, she's really, really tired today. Duncan said, yes, I am blue, so I can moderate. Yay! Hi, Rich, thrifting by. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Hope Marina feels better. So today is Bolo Thursday. So every Thursday we talk about Bolo items. I'm sure you guys know what Bolo means. Be on the lookout. And we actually sold a typewriter last week. And as we were going through our sales and items, we were like, well, why don't we do a Bolo on typewriters? So we want to go through some Bolo typewriters. So quickly in the chat, let us know if you have sold any typewriters, and let us know if you know of any brands that are Bolo items and that have good resale value. Please type in the comment. So just Rich and Cynthia, we have a moderator now. It's Duncan VR. Duncan's from Australia. And I'm not sure what time it is in Australia, but thank you so much for doing this. We definitely enjoy your presence. It helps me, especially if I'm alone and I'm presenting. So Duncan says, I moderate for several channels like Auction, Professor, Primetime, Daily Refinement. Yes, absolutely. We know Daily Refinement, we're aware. So let's get started. I will start projecting. Again, guys, let us know if you know of any typewriter brands that you want to share. And have you sold any typewriter? And do you know of any typewriter brands? So let's get started. All right. We actually don't have a lot of brands to go over. Because not a lot of people made typewriters. So if you think about it, typewriters are really hard to make. If you gotta find all the, you gotta make all the keys. They're all made out of metal. And it's just really, really difficult to make. So I'm not surprised back then, there aren't a lot of brands out there. First of all, I do want to talk about so Duncan said he sold a typewriter to Tom Hanks. That's funny. What does Bolo mean? Be on the lookout. Okay. So first of all, I want to talk about what to look for when sourcing a typewriter. There is a typo there, for a typewriter. So I want to tell you guys a story about our first typewriter that we sold. I personally absolutely love mid-century modern typewriters. Or anything mid-century modern. We went to garage and we came across this brown metal, really beautiful typewriter with a case. And the owner, I think she's in her 80s, 70s or 80s. And she was telling us a story about how her parents gave her the typewriter, and she was a secretary, back then, many, many years ago. Being a secretary as a woman was pretty much, really good. So she talked about her story about how, how much time she spent with using the typewriter. And I was just so So just I felt so touched by it, and I was like, wow, I would love to buy this typewriter. So we ended up buying the typewriter, and we actually sold it for very low. After my research today, I felt that we sold it for quite a low price, and we sold it for like $80. So again, I was intimidated by, how do you package typewriters and all those things. But so first of all, when you source for a typewriter, you got to do this. Make sure that it works, because if it doesn't work, the value goes, wow, it goes all the way down. The way to test it is really type in every single letter, making sure it works, making sure the ink is really, touching the paper. Just test all the dials on the left and the right. And that is really one thing. Many places we go to estate sales, and the keys are sticky. So when you like press down the key, they're stuck. That requires some cleaning to do that. It's not hard to fix, but it's time consuming. So supposedly you just need to buy some solution, add some oil to the typewriter, and making sure the keys are actually working. So again, if you buy something that is not working, you either have to fix it or sell at a really low price. So Duncan said Michelle is flipping Bolo today. Marina had a burnout, so needs to. Oh my God, Duncan, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for being the moderator. Super appreciate it. Okay, so that's that about typewriters. Also, we notice, they have the mechanical typewriter. They also have the electric typewriters, right? I think in the 90s, I remember going to my parents' office, and I would use the mechanical typewriter, where they actually, when you do the backspace, it automatically has like a whiteout, and it like, correct your typo. So those are also worth money. Those are also worth looking, because we have actually flipped a couple of those. But today, we're really going to talk about the vintage kind. So first one, this is Olympia brand. So Olympia is exactly the same brand that I had purchased at the garage sale. This one was sold for $1,035. This model is called SM3. And, the keyboard is really cool looking. And this is an olive green version. So again, first you got to look at the brand, and second, you got to look at the model. So Olympia has a great resale value because the brand itself, it's made in Europe. It's actually a German brand. And what's interesting is they actually began making typewriters in 1903. The factory survived in World War II, and several employees flew to West Germany and set up another shop in 1948, and they continued selling typewriters until production stopped in 1992. And that's another cool factor, is if the typewriter, if they're no longer making it, they stopped it really early on, they're worth more money. The one that we got is similar looking to this one, but it's in brown color. And that's why I said, I think we sold it for too cheap. But you know what? Lesson learned, right? So Olympia, check out Olympia. They're not easy to find. I came across a few, I think twice, out of our 2-year reselling history. But again, we're not really going out there to look for typewriters. So Olympia. The second brand is called Hermes. I hope I'm reading it right. Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong. Or Hermes. So this typewriter was sold for $1,045. And this model is called the Hermes 3000. It was introduced in 1958. This was built in Switzerland. Again, if you see any typewriters that are made in Europe, they're more money. So this is interesting. I think this model is famous because of Brokeback Mountain. Apparently, the author of Brokeback Mountain, the movie, used this typewriter to write the script. So I have no clue writers are still using typewriters nowadays, which is super interesting. But yeah, so this model came from Germany, and he specifically in the 2006 Golden Globes, he made a speech and he mentioned this typewriter. So Hermes 3000, this came from 1962. Again, another tip is if you know anyone who can fix typewriters, who can clean typewriters, you can refurbish it, people will buy it. As long as it's working, people are going to go for it. So, all right, so we've got some comments. So Rich said a rejection. Oh, okay, so they're talking about some eBay glitches, apparently. eBay has some glitches. I don't know if you guys know, but there's been a conversation about eBay glitches. Duncan said $1,000 for a typewriter, man. I'm selling the wrong products. Duncan, if you make typewriters, you can probably make a lot of money doing this. A lot of people are still looking for typewriters for home decors or writers to write scripts. This next one, this is called Smith Corona. This is very popular. I've seen this many times, this brand. This on the left is an item that we sold. This is Cyrillic. Cyrillic, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but this typewriter is in Russian. So what happened was we went on an online estate sale, and it was like, oh, you know, we've got this lot number 42 typewriters. I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy it. So we didn't know what it was until we opened it, and we picked up the item. We picked up the item, we brought it home, and I opened it. I was like, what in the heck? What language is this? Apparently it's Russian, and it was in perfect condition. You know, the ribbon, everything was still intact. And we purchased this for $20, and we actually sold it for $388. So I think this was one of our biggest flip last week. So Smith Corona is actually started in 1973. They introduced our cartridge ribbon, which eliminated the long-standing problem of getting ink-stained fingers from hand threading a replacement spool of inked ribbon. So I completely remember that those days. If you guys have used a typewriter, you get ink on your fingers. Smith Corona, look out for this brand. Again, make sure that it works. Super important. So our next one is Royal. I have seen Royal as well. Royal, the design of this typewriter is very like artsy. It's almost like Victorian-ish. It's got some like intricate details on the design of a Royal typewriter. Have you guys seen it before? I think this is probably, I've seen this in a couple of estate sales as well. So this we're looking at is from 1948. It's called Royal Quiet Deluxe Typewriter. It was sold for $808 through a bidding and auction on eBay. It's got 21 bids. So again, you could see, you may think, you know, typewriters, who's going to buy that? There are people really looking for this stuff. And it's hard to find one that works, and it's hard to find one that is in really great condition. So the Royal Typewriter Company was founded by Edward Hess and Louis Myers in January 1904. Holy moly, 1904. That's that's pretty much an antique, basically, if you find one. So antique is obviously worth more. So Royal entered the portable typewriter market in 1926, years behind its competitors such as Underwood, Smith Corona, and Remington. So Royal is the other brand that you should look for. Moving on, Hammond, I would say. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. This is super cool looking. So Hammond, Hammond, this particular model, Hammond Multiplex Typewriter, this was sold for $649, and this is a pre-owned item from 1900s. The design of this typewriter is super old school. It's got like a wooden board. So, the case, the thing that's holding all the keys, usually it's made out of metal. In this case, this model is made out of wood. So I could see why it's expensive and special. So this was manufactured in New York. This is a US company, in 1913. Very, very old. They use a hammer typing mechanism. So it's a different technology compared to the other typewriters. So this one, you gotta be on the lookout, because I would keep one, actually, if I can find one. It's very unique looking, and you guys let me know what you think. But I personally think I would keep this. All right, moving on to the next one. This one brand is Remington. Have you guys heard of this brand before? Remington. We have seen quite a few Remington brands at estate sales as well. Some of them are electric. So I think Remington made its way to later days, and they really, made it with selling typewriters. And we move on to the electric typewriters. So Rich has a great comment. Hammond is also makers of musical instruments. That makes sense. That would make sense because of how like artsy they are with like using wood with the typewriters. Thanks for sharing, Rich. So Remington, in this case, we are looking at an antique item. It actually looks like a mini piano to me. This is a Yiddish typewriter. Again, personally, because we've sold a Russian typewriter, I think it's worth more if it's another language. So this was sold for $710. So Remington and Sons, that's actually the original name. They manufactured typewriters from 1816 to 1896. Holy moly, that's a long time ago. They also made firearms. That's crazy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because during that time, it's World War II, and then you've got firearms, or World War I, you have firearms, and at the same time, if you have that metal, if you have those materials, you can make typewriters too. So this was founded in 1816, and also a company in New York. It became known for manufacturing its first commercial typewriter, supplied a large proportion of the small arms used by the United States government in the Civil War. Holy moly, that's super interesting. So Remington, again, if you do see Remington typewriters, there are so many kinds. I have not seen an antique kind, but we have seen the modern kind, and they're obviously worth less money, probably around the $200, $300 range. But if you go to an estate sale, most likely they're probably going to sell it for like $40, $30. So it's still a good flip. So look out for Remington. All right. So Rich has a couple of comments. So Duncan said $710, but they sold it in auction. They should have put it on bin for $1,000. Means buy it now for $1,000. Duncan, I agree with you. We are fans of buy it now. We used to do auctions for everything, and we totally changed our strategy to do buy it now. And you really save time on not needing to watch the product, not needing to watch the auction. You don't have to worry about selling it for too low. So buy it now, it's kind of like no BS. You either want it or you don't. Plus, eBay has this offer option, so that provides some flexibility. Thanks for sharing, Duncan. So Rich said Bill is here. He would know more about Remington, I am sure. I am sure, too. I'm sad that Bill's not here. We missed you, Bill. Duncan said they have Remington shavers, too, I think. And Rich said you will also pay a lesser fee using the buy it now. Absolutely right. Yes. So you know what? I kind of thought of something. So I thought of shipping. I think people might have questions about how to ship a typewriter. YouTube is your best friend. When I shipped our first typewriter, I basically making sure you gotta there's a little bit of process. You gotta use saran wrap everything with saran wrap the entire thing, wrap the keys with saran wrap, and then you do bubble wrap. So making sure there's enough cushion. There are typewriters that come with a case. Those are worth more. And those are easier to package because it's harder to kind of penetrate into the actual typewriter. So still, saran wrap, bubble wrap, everything, making sure there's enough cushion, making sure there's enough space in between the box, the sides of the box, and the typewriter. And we've shipped, I think this is going to be our third or fourth typewriter now, and there hasn't been any problem. So guys, if you guys are worried about shipping, don't worry. It's not hard. All right. Duncan, what's the shipping cost on typewriters? So it depends. With FedEx, they're really heavy, by the way. It's about, from our experience, it depends. It's between $50 to $70. So, and the buyers are not really concerned about paying because, this is how I would position it. If you sell a typewriter and there's a high shipping cost, is really you reassure your customer that we invest in packaging supplies. We invest in really good packaging. We overpack it to make sure the item arrives. So from that perspective, your buyer will not probably complain about shipping costs being too high because obviously they don't want to receive a broken malfunction item and then you got to go through the refund process. It's just a pain for the buyer and the seller. So that's how I would position it. And it wouldn't hurt to add that to your thing, right? What we usually do is we say we always kind of overpacked and rest assured that the items are going to be super secure. So good question, Duncan. Okay, this next brand is called Olivetti Lettera. So I'm gonna assume this brand is either from, sounds Italian. Actually, I'm not gonna assume. I don't know where this brand is from, but Olivetti Lettera. In this case, this eBay item, this was sold for $127. And this is a Russian typewriter. See, if you have Russian typewriters or anything in other languages, it's worth more. Look for it. So this typewriter is designed by Marcello Nizzoli for Olivetti in 1963. And everything sounds so Italian, so I'm pretty sure this is an Italian brand. So this typewriter was popular amongst journalists and students. I myself, we have not seen this brand. So I think I will be on the lookout when I see this. It seems quite rare, especially this one is in Russian. So Duncan said, overpack it, wrap it in 25 pieces of newspaper. That's funny. Newspaper is free. Come on. But sometimes newspaper helps too. We use newspaper for fragile items because they tend to help. Okay. This last one is Emerson. I have never seen Emerson before. In this case, I gotta tell you guys, this is probably very rare. This is a typewriter for parts or repair, which means this typewriter does not work. And guys, this was sold for $442. It's got 6 bits on it. So, we have sold typewriters for parts. So don't worry if you do pick up one that is not working. But this is really high for parts, for parts only, 442. So this must be a giant Bolo typewriter brand, Emerson. So Emerson is said to have been first marketed by 1908. It's one of the more impressive examples. So the machine, looking at the picture, it's got a wooden case on it. And it almost looks like the Royal brand. It's got two little, I don't know what you call it. I'm really bad at explaining it, but it's black. It's got all the keys. And in addition to the keys in the normal keyboard, it's got some additional keys on top of the keyboard, which is really interesting looking. So the original design was built as a secretary typewriter, but immediately taken off the market because of an apparent patent infringement. So this explains why the Emerson model is labeled as model number 3. That's it for our Bolo typewriter. So we've gone through Remington, Emerson, Royal, Olympia. What else is there? The Hammond brand. Look out for those. Again, the key is really making sure it works. So, you know, if it doesn't work, sell it for parts if you think you can make money. But we are fans of typewriters. We've had success selling them. So be on the lookout for typewriters. All right, going to our meme. Thank you, Duncan, again for, shout out Duncan VR. Thank you again for being a moderator. Here's a meme of an old lady. I believe she's probably in her 70s, 80s. She is in class. This looks like a class in college. And the meme says, but my typewriter doesn't have 12.5 font. Funny, funny, funny. That's true. So there's no way you can make your font bigger using a typewriter. I just realized that. But you know what? I would love to own a typewriter if I have the space. I think it's super cool. Yeah, I absolutely think it's really cool. All right, Cynthia says, it's always good to know about this. Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate you guys joining. It's just me today. So usually Maria does the talking. But I appreciate you guys joining and participating. Cynthia said, I found one at the thrift store and miss it. You know what? There's always so many other chances. A lot of people are getting rid of their old items. So keep looking out. DM if you find a brand or take a picture. I would love to see it. And Duncan said, I am watching out for any trolls on here. Thank you. And then Rich says, it looks like she saw a computer and got mad because it replaced the typewriter. Oh, thank you, Rich. He says you did a wonderful job, Michelle. Thanks so much. Be on the lookout. If you guys have any Bolo request for next Thursday, let us know. We absolutely love doing this research for you guys because it's really helping us educate ourselves too. And Cynthia said you did a good job, Michelle, as always. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Duncan, again, thank you for moderating. We look forward to seeing you. Tomorrow is Fun Facts Friday. Last week we talked about Levi's, all the fun facts about Levi's. So tomorrow we'll talk about something else. We'll see what happens. All right. Thanks for joining and have a wonderful night. Stay safe. Make sure you guys are, self-care. You don't want to get burned out. Do something good for yourself today, tonight, whatever it is. Take a hot shower, eat something yummy. Take care of yourself because that's really important. Your health is your wealth. Okay. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.